In the early years of the war, German tanks seemed unstoppable. Their armor deflected most attacks, and their long-range fire tore through Soviet defenses. But in the autumn of 1943, a new Soviet machine rode onto the battlefield, the SU-85. Low, fast, and deadly, it carried an 85mm gun capable of piercing the armor of Panzer IVs and Stugs from a safe distance. The Germans called it the Invincible Predator. It would appear from behind cover, fire a single accurate shot, and vanish, leaving behind burning wrecks. Even the Tigers no longer felt invincible, as Wehrmacht commanders desperately searched for ways to counter this new nightmare. In this video, we'll uncover why the SU-85 became the true terror of German tank crews, how its operators mastered ambush tactics, and how this unassuming machine changed the balance of power on the Eastern Front. By 1943, the enemy's armor had evolved. The Wehrmacht upgraded its tanks, and the word impenetrable began to appear more often in frontline reports. The new Panzer IVs, with their long-barreled guns, could strike with deadly precision at long range. Now it was Soviet tanks that burned, just as the Germans once had. The enemy's infantry received PaK-40 anti-tank guns that could destroy even the heavy KV tanks. The word invincible had become a cruel joke. Soviet armor shattered under the hail of shells. Crews were dying before they could even fire back. At headquarters, they knew delay meant death. The response had to be fast and ruthless, a vehicle capable of destroying enemy tanks from a distance. Not for assaults, not for infantry support, but for hunting. That was the idea behind the SU-85, low, fast, and purpose-built, like a bullet.
At headquarters, they knew delay meant death. The response had to be fast and ruthless, a vehicle capable of destroying enemy tanks from a distance, not for assaults, not for infantry support, but for hunting. That was the idea behind the SU-85, low, fast, and purpose-built like a bullet. At the Ural heavy machinery plant, where the SU-122 had been produced just months earlier, engineers worked through sleepless nights. The workshops smelled of oil, metal, and sweat. Blueprints were sketched directly on sheets of plywood. Designers argued over gun mounts and armor angles. And soon, from welded steel hulls, emerged a new hunter's shadow, a machine built for one purpose: to kill. No turret, no frills, just the gun, the engine, and the men inside. The heart of the SU-85 was its 85mm D5S gun, derived from an anti-aircraft weapon. It struck with cold precision. Armor-piercing shells could penetrate up to 100 millimeters of armor at a kilometer, and subcaliber rounds burned through up to 140. For German crews, it was a nightmare. Even a Tiger was no longer safe if the SU-85 spotted it first. Yet the vehicle weighed less than 30 tons and could reach speeds of nearly 50 kilometers per hour, as fast as a tank, but smaller and harder to hit.
Its crew numbered only 4: driver, gunner, commander, and loader, working as one mechanism. Without perfect synchronization, death was certain. The gunner locked on to targets, the driver adjusted by sound, The commander counted seconds between shots. After firing, the air filled with smoke, the steel walls rang, and the flash left sparks in their eyes. When the first SU-85s arrived at the front in late 1943, tank crews were skeptical. Why send them a vehicle without a turret? It felt like a step backward. But in the fields of Ukraine, doubts vanished quickly. Hidden in ambush among hills and tree lines, these self-propelled guns showed their true power. They didn't rush forward, they waited. First came the distant rumble, then the dust, then a black cross in the gun sight. One shot, a flash, and the German tank turned into a smoking wreck. Where T-34s once perished in frontal assaults, the SU-85 hunted like a predator. It could crawl closer, strike, and slip away. Its silhouette was low, hard to spot. The shot thundered, and silence returned. The Germans feared these invisible hunters. Intelligence reports spoke of a new type of Soviet tank firing from nowhere. But war rarely forgives misunderstanding. Infantry commanders, unaware of the SU-85's true purpose, often threw it into assaults. Without a turret or the ability to aim quickly, it became an easy target. Losses mounted until High Command finally ordered that the SU-85 be used only for what it was designed: tank hunting. The true test came in the summer of 1944. Near the Lithuanian village of Devindoniai, the 1021st Self-Propelled Artillery Regiment prepared an ambush along a narrow road. The air was thick with fog, the smell of diesel and wet earth. When a German column appeared, dozens of tanks, transports, and infantry, the Soviet crews held their breath. The commander raised his hand, counted to 3, and the world exploded. The first salvo tore through the lead vehicles. The noise was deafening, flashes, smoke, chaos. Within 5 minutes, 19 German machines were burning. The rest panicked and retreated. That battle became legend. A lesson in how patience and precision could overcome superior numbers. The crews said the SU-85 was like a beast lying in wait. It didn't roar, it listened, and when the time came, it struck with a single perfect shot. Soldiers loved it for its simplicity and reliability. If you cared for the machine, it wouldn't fail you. But inside, after several shots, the air grew thick with fumes. Eyes watered, lungs burned, and loaders often fainted only to rise again, gripping the hot shells in blistered hands. In duels against Panzer IVs, Soviet crews felt confident. Accuracy, aiming speed, and low profile, everything worked in their favor. But against Tigers and Panthers, distance was everything. The frontal armor was nearly invulnerable, but the side plates could be pierced from 800 to 1,000 meters. The crews knew the first shot had to count. A single miss meant death. With each passing month, the battle changed. The Germans fired farther and more precisely. Their optics were superior, their guns deadlier. Commanders wrote in their reports, "We need thicker armor and a stronger gun." Thus the Successor was born, the SU-100, armed with a weapon that could face the Tiger on equal terms. But while the SU-100 was still on the drawing board, the SU-85 remained the Red Army's best hope against German heavy armor. It fought from Belarus to Hungary, through swamps and mountains. It burned, overturned, sank in mud, but kept coming back. Soldiers said, "As long as the gun lives, we live." By the war's end, its role had changed. The SU-85 was used more for infantry support and urban combat. But its 85mm gun wasn't ideal for concrete fortifications. Where the old SU-122 could shatter a bunker with one shell, the SU-85 needed several. Shells ricocheted off walls, concrete crumbled but held, and so the heavy SU-152 and ISU-122 returned to the front. Still, the SU-85 remained as a symbol of transition when war forced engineers to think differently. It wasn't about brute strength anymore, but precision and calculation. Modest, unglamorous, but effective. In just 1 year, 2,335 units were built. They never paraded through Red Square or starred in films, but they held the line, closed gaps, and stopped breakthroughs. After the war, they were quickly retired, replaced by newer, stronger designs. Yet among veterans, the SU-85 was remembered with quiet respect. It wasn't the strongest, the toughest, or the most famous. It simply did its job, silently, accurately, without mistakes. Where armor failed, precision prevailed, and where tigers roared, in the shadows stood the SU-85, low, blackened by smoke, forged from steel and will, a machine where mechanics and man became one. And as long as the echo of its gunfire lingered, and the gunner's eyes still burned with fire, the war was not yet over.